Hello and welcome back to episode 17 of the Jodez Hour. You might have noticed I got a haircut. Also, new studio around us right now. Had to end up moving out of the studio. There'll be a little bit of a video right here. Sad montage of the empty studio. But as we move on, new beginnings bring everything for new people. And today we have a new person with us. That's Mason Poirier.
What's going on, Joe Dez?
He's going to be going to college for acting. Gone to the Plymouth State program.
Yes, sir.
Pretty exciting to see. But while Mason has been acting, there's not just been acting classes taken. Mason, there have been a couple things that have been a little bit hidden for most people who have not actually paid too much attention about it. Guitar lessons, singing lessons, everything that you need to actually be a successful actor. What has it been like going through those behind closed doors where people can't actually see what's going on and just experiencing what it's going to be like in the professional life?
It's cool. You know, it's interesting to see what it's going to be like, you know? It's cool to just kind of do that stuff behind the scenes, keep it to yourself, and not make like a big deal out of it because, I mean, nobody really cares when you just go up to them and just say like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, blah, 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 you know? Like, it's fun. It's fun to keep it a secret. It's fun to like work on something and then showcase it versus like just being upfront about it the whole time and like people watching the progress, because it's, you see less as you like watch something gradually versus like when you just like see it all at once. It's kind of like a big thing, and I like to give that like wow factor a lot, so that's cool. That's why I like it.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Do you remember those videos that used to come out, people taking like a picture every single day, and then you'd see the change over the year when they compiled them all together?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like an analogy for that is what you're doing, basically. Because while it happens every single day, you're not posting about it every day. They don't see that's going on every single day. That's not how it's going to be. It's going to be, they see the finished project, and they respect what you did after. Yeah. So that's definitely the best way to go throughout that.
Thank you, man.
But one thing, Plymouth State's where you're going. Rooming with Oliver Stewart, the barber.
My man.
Oli Stew, come out here. Show them the Joe Hour barber. Yeah, he's been on the Joe Hour. He cut a little bit of Slavin's hair. I believe that was episode 2.
Yeah.
Want to check that out? Took a little trip to the barber shop. That was in the old studio. I wanted to ask you, you're going to college, one of your best friends, going to be living with him every day. Do you think having someone who saw your journey from the beginning kind of helps know that you're going to be able to keep pushing forward with what you're doing, basically? You're not going to have someone who's rooming with you, who every time you talk to him, he's like, you're really still doing acting, man? You got to get real, like something like that.
Yeah.
You're going to have someone who's like, I've watched what you've done, how much work you've put into this. I know you can be successful in this. Keep doing it. Do you think that is going to be an advantage you have over other people who just have doubters all around them?
100%. I mean, Ollie's such a great kid, man. I couldn't ask for like anybody better to be a roommate with in college. He's always been like so supportive of everything. Like I go to him for advice on stuff, and if I could do something better, ask him, see what he has to say. You know, just stand up guy. You know, I love the kid. I couldn't ask for a better person to be going to college with. I couldn't ask for more support from him. Definitely would give me an advantage because less doubt around me. It'll make me doubt myself. He's always there to pick me up and keep me going, and he's a great kid. Great question.
I think having that support behind you is going to help you so much in the future, because you're going to do amazing things. Going to tell a little story. There was a time where I was watching you, I believe it was Little Mermaid sophomore year. You were in there.
I remember that.
Yeah, so Little Mermaid, obviously great role, great singing, obviously that.
Thank
I was impressed when I watched that. Then senior year, you got lead role in Romeo and Juliet. I was watching you go out there, and those lines are near impossible to nail. They're not even English at this point. They're old-timey English. Yeah. The fact that you're remembering all that, I almost brought a tear to my eye watching that growth, because being able to sing and do that stuff in front of a crowd, that's a talent by itself. Being able to actually remember words that I could not comprehend most of the time, that's just so impressive to do. But I wanted to ask, what was that journey like, progressing from a little more simpler roles onto being the main guy who has to actually carry and lead the play?
Yeah, I mean, you give me too much credit here. I mean, but it's cool. It's nice to look back on the simpler roles and see how far I've come, like with my technique. You know, like when I went into Little Mermaid, it was kind of like still at the phase of just doing theater because I thought it was fun. I didn't put 100% into it. It could have been better. But then as you grow up Even as a side note, after Little Mermaid, we in the theater company actually wrote a show ourselves. It was called All of Us. It was a great production put together. We entered in a theater competition. That pushed me forward in a lot of ways because it put me in a setting where it was much more serious, and it wasn't just like high school theater. It was like we wrote a show. Like we went bare bones. Like the initial thing was like literally just a video in black and white of just a street corner, cars going by, and we were just asked, what do you think of when you see this picture? I'm going to jot it on this whiteboard and we're going to work from that. We went from looking at cars going by to writing a picture about a kid's divorce and how he sees it through his imagination. And so it was really cool, and that pushed me forward in a lot of ways because I saw the beauty of theater in that and how you can bring forth so many different feelings and attitudes just from nothing. Like we started with nothing, and that's really what got me to love theater. Being proud of that show, working forward from it, and then I was given the opportunity to play Romeo, and that was a big turnaround because, like you said, it's just like a different language. So you have to basically you just sit and go over and over and over. And I'm such a baby about memorizing lines, so that was so difficult for me. But it was cool. It was cool to work on something serious like that because you don't always get opportunities like that. And even though it was high school theater, I really cherish it because, you know, it just brought forth so many new ideas in my head. How to express sadness to an entire audience, how to make them laugh, make them cry, make them be mad at you, like all in one show. It was really difficult, but I cherish it because it made me better in a lot of ways.
Yeah, going through that process, I feel like that probably gave you a lot more respect to the people behind the scenes, like directors, producers, everything like that. Because obviously, as the actor, you're reciprocating the work that is put forth to you, but there's a little bit that goes behind the scenes that people don't realize happens.
Right.
But you getting to take that on and actually create your own thing where you weren't just the star, but you were the creator, the backbone, everything that structured it. I think that gave you a different perspective on acting because you could see the growth between those two time periods. And what I wanted to ask you, Mason, with that growth, obviously a lot of new perspectives come with that. Did you kind of view the whole art of acting, all that stuff basically, as a different beast than you did before? Because I imagine that you obviously viewed it as something massive, but when you actually saw it, and when you went through such a long process like that, you realize just how many functioning parts there are in the whole acting sphere.
Right, yeah. So like I was saying before, is I just was doing theater because it was fun. You know, I wasn't doing it because I had any dreams of being an actor freshman year. My cousin just wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you. So it went from just doing it for fun, having something to do at high school, and then once I started really going for it and started trying, I found out like I might have something going here, you know, like I've never been great at things like sports. I like sports. I play them. I've never been the star player or anything. But then I started getting lead roles and stuff, and it's a great feeling to actually be like good at something, not for once in my life, because that's like an overstatement, but like it's just really reassuring, and it made me love it, and it made me have a passion for it. So definitely I see it differently. Like, growing up, I've always loved movies and everything. I've always appreciated acting, but doing it myself, it's like a whole different beast, you know, and it's awesome.
That growth comes with time, and that different perspective lends itself to different ways that you actually produce that art and the ways that you function throughout that entire thing. When you were acting at first, you said that you didn't really view it as something that was going to be the end goal in your life. I wanted to ask you about a little period during quarantine. That's kind of when you had to decide, what am I going to do? Do I reach for the stars and try becoming an actor? Do I get a desk job and just accept what happens? And what was it like having to go through that process and actually accept that you're going to have to risk it to become an actor and that you don't want to take the safe route that's more boring and you're not going to feel as accomplished with yourself? What was it like just deciding, I want to just put it all on myself, spin the wheel and see if it lands on red?
Well, I've always wanted to do something different than just like a 9-to-5. That's never felt or sounded appealing to me. So it was always about finding something that was different than that I could love doing. And then once I found, like during quarantine is kind of like that area just like for a reference of like a timeline, that's the age where you kind of start realizing you got only a few years left of high school. You got to start thinking about what you want to do. And I sat down every once in a while, and I just never thought about something that really brought me happiness, like acting and theater and stuff, and studying film and trying out writing and everything that goes with it. It's just all so fun, and I just have such a passion for it that I couldn't think of doing anything else.
Yeah, there can always be aspects of life where you don't really like writing normally or something like that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to that niche that you developed in acting, because you were talking about earlier how it wasn't the one thing that you felt like you were good at in life, but it was one of the things.
Right.
And possibly even the main thing that you felt was the center of what you were good at. Mm-hmm. Having that acting as the thing that you actually care about and as your niche, as I said a minute ago, I think that makes the more boring aspects that you'd view as something that you don't want to participate in as something that is fun to you, something that you enjoy doing. And that's why I think you showing that passion for acting shows that it's something that you actually want to have accomplished.
Right.
And there are some people who go into acting because their parents force them into it or something like that. People go into acting because they want to get money. Mm-hmm. You go into acting because you love it.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a completely different approach than a lot of people take it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you think that because you just have such a love for the art of acting and everything that goes around it, that is going to help you through the tough times where you might not get called back from a certain agent, you might not get the role you were fully expecting to get? Do you think that'll let you push through and realize there's going to be another role on the table within a week?
I feel like if anything, it might, to be honest, like push me back. But it's just one of those challenges that I'm going to have to work through, you know, and listen to the feedback, learn from it, use it, and then be better next time, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fully valid. I think that because you've had such a strong, I'd say, web of support, as your parents have obviously supported all this, I think that's one massive thing that's obviously helped you too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When parents don't support something, that could probably one of the biggest dream killers of the thing. Like they try saying, like, you have to just work in oil factory, something like that. Exactly. Oil factory is a weird... Yeah, I realize that's a weird analogy. Probably should have used something like...
Putting them in the coal mine.
Probably should have said just being like a store clerk or being behind a desk. I don't know why oil factory came to minds. Yeah, wow, okay. But nah, continuing on. Because you've had such a wide web of support that has just helped you throughout this entire process, do you think that has kind of positioned your mind to realize that because so many people support you, it's something that's actually possible to accomplish? And it's not just doubters all around you that you want to prove wrong. It's people you want to prove right instead.
Right. You know, obviously I want it to work out. And I could say all day that it will, but, you know, time will only tell. I just got to work hard. Obviously having my parents' support is a huge deal. Like, if they were disappointed in me for choosing this, then I probably would have dropped out like the second I like heard that. Not only my parents, like, you guys are awesome. You couldn't be better friends about it. Like, every day, any time that I talk about it, you guys are all ears. You support me. You listen. You give me feedback. Like, if you guys were just like, oh, whatever, like, I really don't care about what you're talking about.
Okay, right now, similar to the last episode, we're going to have a little bit of a non-video supported portion where there's a little bit of picture sliding by as we talk. Going to be testing this out for a second time. Mason, to continue on from where we left off.
Like, you guys, my friends... couldn't ask for any more support from you guys. That gives me such a appreciation for what I was saying was I just appreciate you guys always being there for me. Because you asked, does it help that my parents support me? It does. It helps with them. It helps with you guys. It helps with other family. Anybody who's willing to lend a hand and support me, it goes the mile, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, having support from different outlets definitely does help in the long run, because the big thing is if people don't support you, then it can just start turning negative in your mind process of the thing. As we mentioned earlier, it's more proving them wrong instead of proving them right. But in this situation, you're obviously going to be showing that support was put in the correct place. But continuing on, what I wanted to ask Mason, I remember actually talking to me about this. There's a few times you had to get headshots taken and stuff like that so that you could actually reach out to different companies. And one process that comes with taking headshots, though, is you can start sending them to modeling agencies and stuff like that. How was that process going through that, just trying to see if there are any openings where you could spend a little bit of extra time while you built up the other side of your career?
It's tough here and no. You go in, like, really hopeful that everything's just going to, like, kind of be handed to you, I guess, and that's not the attitude you should have at all. But it's a weird feeling, just like continuously like putting yourself out there, but then people are like, you can't do it for this reason, blah blah blah. Like, we don't need somebody like that. We need somebody like this. It's hard to hear, but you need to hear it, I guess. It's just part of it. But taking headshots was cool. It was cool to get the taste of what it would be like, posing and taking pictures, doing different smiles, blah, blah, blah. It was cool.
No, getting to go through the whole process that you're going to have to do obviously gives you, as you said, a little taste of what's coming.
Right. So it was cool. I like that part of it, so I'm hopeful for the day that somebody says yes, and I know that I'm gonna like it. So it was a good experience to go through.
Yeah, eventually at least one person will say yes. I don't think you have to worry about that,
right.
Mason.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But no, what's good is you still have a lot of time coming in the future. You're only 18 right now. You're just at the beginning of a young career that hopefully will blossom into something massive. But I wanted to ask, what is it like being so early in something that you want to happen so fast like that? Is it a little bit hard realizing you have to be patient? Or is it something that is kind of just accepted by you at this point?
Yeah, it can be frustrating at first because it's all about the patience of it, and it just gets old, and you just want to get it going. But I guess over time, you get used to it. As you get older, you understand how everything works, and you have different expectations because you know what it's going to be like. So in a way, yes, but also no.
No, that's fully fair. A lot of people will look at it and think life is just unfair to them. They're getting the wrong end of the stick, basically. It's a lot better when you can realize, I'm not going to be gifted this. I'm not just going to be handed this. I got to work for that. And now we will return to our video support section of this podcast. And we are back for the video support section of the Joe Does Hour, episode 17 with Mason Poirier. Continuing on, Mason, wanted to check in on a little bit. Obviously, we talked about the past and where you've come so far. What is coming in the future, and what are you looking towards as you start to get a little bit older and go to college?
You know what, Joe does? I'd rather just do it than answer that question.
That's fully fair. You don't want to hype up anything. Keeping it behind closed doors, as always. Perfectly fair. I think the audience will understand that completely.
I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Now prove everyone who supported you right, as we were talking about earlier. So, one thing, Mason, we've talked a little bit about in-person acting, obviously at play, singing, and all that stuff. One thing you've talked to me about being interested in before is voice acting. The voice acting field, I wanted to ask you about. What do you think going into that line of work would entail, and what do you think the experience that you'd get from that would be that makes it so desirable?
It just seems so fun, like with voice acting, it's different because they're not seeing you at all. The only connection to you is your voice, and you're just looking at a completely different, most oftenly like a cartoon face, so it's probably really cool to just be completely disconnected from yourself, watch the cartoon and like just picture yourself as that character and just be that character. Nobody's going to see you as anything else but that, so you can just totally capture it, and I think that would be really cool and helpful in becoming characters rather than just like showcasing them. So yeah,
a lot of actors, they'll fall into typecasting where they kind of get solidified in one role. Everyone knows Jason Statham, obviously.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, if they're in a movie, they're going to be the guy who's beating up everyone else. Everyone knows it's coming there.
Yep.
But when it's voice acting, it's not just what you look like, what you've usually done.
Right.
It's just your voice, and you can do so much with your voice. You can do impressions, can do different voice levels, but different tone changes, everything. There's so many things you can do with your voice. So having that wide of a field to actually try to capture and just hunt down the end goal of being a voice actor, do you think having that wide array of variety of skills that you need to develop in that position is something that you'd view as kind of an ultimate goal achiever? Because in that scenario, you could do impressions, could change your voice, can sing, you can showcase everything you've done. Even if they want to let you hop on guitar at some point, they could do that. So do you think having just so many skills packed into that compartment for what some may view as something simple, but it's not simple, it's obviously very complex, do you think having that, it kind of makes it more appreciative for the work that the other people have done in that industry and the stuff that you would be contributing to that industry?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because when you it's like being empathetic, like putting yourself in their shoes, and literally doing it is another thing because like you know what it's like. You have an appreciation for how hard it is and how many times it takes to just like go over and over, and the appreciation to stay patient or the dedication, I should say. I don't know why I said appreciation. The dedication to just stay patient and go through it. It gives you a whole different respect for it. And I think that's why I love film so much, because it takes so much repetition and doing something until you get it right. And knowing that part of it makes you just love it even more. Because like you're just watching it and thinking like, wow, like, I don't know, this guy's been putting his whole life into these characters, and like the dedication to just like sit there, work on a character, do it until it's right, and then be done with it. It's just cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and those characters live on in infamy forever.
Right, because you watch it over and over again, and like even after that actor's gone, like their movies stay here. Like their whole life is not their life, but like their whole career is just showcased in eternity, and it's just like it's cool.
Yeah, because it's not just contributed to the person, but when people think of Mickey Mouse,
right,
they think of the mouse.
Right.
They think of the character with a high-pitched voice.
Right.
They don't view it as just a singular guy sitting in a studio doing the voice. Having that allows the image of that character to explode.
Right.
Mickey Mouse, everyone sees the hats, everyone sees the shirts.
Right.
And
that's what it's about. It's not about the actor. It's about the character that you play. You know, you're just kind of like a vessel playing that character, and it just happens to be your face, but like it's not you. It's that character. You know, it's not you being immortalized. It's that character that will forever be that character. And when you see their face with your face, it's different. But like you're saying, like with Mickey Mouse and stuff and like cartoons, you don't most of the time know what that person's face is at the beginning, so you're just seeing that character. And that's the beauty of it, is it's not you, it's that character, you know. And people appreciate your work more than just like, I don't know, not to like pick on actors because I appreciate them, but like Tom Cruise is always like the handsome guy. Like I've never really thought he was the best actor. I just always thought people think he's handsome and stuff and kind of give him a break, to be honest with you. So I think going down that road more would definitely be what I would want to do, because it's more about the art of it and the character more than being the handsome guy on the camera, you know?
Yeah, I think voice acting also lends itself to humility a lot more than regular acting, because you're accepting that you're taking the back seat, and it's your character that you're portraying. It's not you.
It's not about you, yeah.
Exactly. So I think having that really just is a different, probably would say a whole different line of work than regular acting, because it's showcasing yourself, but it's also showcasing something that is not you. It's something that you're contributing to. And with voice acting, that character can get passed on to multiple voice actors, but that character is still the same character. That's the beauty of it. It can be representing something that has had a long tradition, something that's lasted for hundreds of years. You're just contributing a little bit to it, but you get a little section in history in that entire character.
Right. And it's cool that like other people can play that character like in a totally different way, because like when you're just hearing like if you can do the voice that somebody else was doing originally, most people won't even notice it, and you're just hearing the character with the voice, and it's like you don't even know that actor's gone. You just are hearing that character. You're like, oh, it's the character. Like there's nothing different, and that's so cool to me. It's like it has nothing to do with that person. It's just you appreciate what that person did, and you love it, and so you watch it for that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's an art that just lives on forever is the one thing. And there are so many times in history that people will contribute to a field. Obviously, is another kind of weird example, but the Industrial Revolution, everyone was contributing a tiny, tiny bit to that. That's what evolved into cell phones and stuff like that. With the voice acting, you're contributing to the growth of a character. First person who voices Mickey Mouse, that was just one hand-drawn mouse that's like riding a boat. Nothing really that special. That evolved into one of the most massive characters throughout the entire world. But that first person is still held in history because he was the first person who ever undertook that character. And the last person who took him, he's held in history too because he's the last one who took it. But I think that having that art as one of your repertoires, kind of like hidden behind the cabinet, I think having that will definitely make it a lot less pigeonholed into one certain area. You can try your hand at many different things. You can try it at acting, you can try it at Broadway, you can try it at voice acting, so many different things. I think having that array of skills is going to lend itself to something that isn't really going to put you in a box, I would say. I was trying to think of how to word it properly. That's easily the best way to say it. You're not going to be confined in a certain area. You're going to be able to explore what you actually want to do in your interests.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree.
Mason, as we talked about earlier, one of the big parts, or one of the big eras, I'd say, of change was during quarantine, where you decided to focus more on acting and having that as your solidified future. Mm-hmm. Do you think having that time of just self-reflection, having to sit alone, you're not able to see every single person, having that self-reflection really lent itself to the humility behind what we've been talking about throughout the entirety of this? Not expecting anything, but working towards it and hoping for the best.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We all knew the feeling of like being isolated for that amount of time, you know? And I guess some of the time we really had nothing else to do but to just like, kind of like sit and think, you know? Because you get bored of everything else when you're just doing it over and over and over again. So it definitely gave me a time where I could just like sit and think about what it's going to be like, what I'm going to have to do, you know, like what I want to do really, you know, like if I wanted it or not. But then just having that time to myself and to just have no other like outside influence, like outside influences influencing me to do something different. It definitely, I think, helped me for the better. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that also comes into that question, as you spend so much time with yourself, mental health is one massive thing with actors, obviously. We've talked about imposter syndrome before on this podcast, where people believe that even no matter how much work they've done, they don't belong in the position they're in. Mm-hmm. Have you focused on making sure your mental health is in the right place and improving that? Because it is such... Getting rejected is obviously hard. That's one massive thing about being an actor. But obviously, knowing you have to compete against almost everyone you meet in that industry, it can get a toll on you at a certain point. Do you think, or not even do you think, have you put the time away to just make sure that your mental health is how it's supposed to be?
Of course, yeah. It's all about focusing on like self-worth and stuff, and knowing that at the end of the day, like you're still a human being. You still have your talents. You still have your worth in life. And even when somebody says otherwise or makes you think otherwise, you're always going to have that. You're always going to have your dignity and stuff. And you just got to keep your head up and stick to it. You can't let those things like discourage you and stuff.
Yeah, one good thing that I think will lend itself to helping with your mental health, throughout our entire friendship, you've obviously already had very strong morals, I'd say. Like, you have always focused on what would be the right decision from both people's end, not just your end. Do you think having that such strong grasp of morality and the fact that you need to be a good person in life to actually be happy with yourself, do you think that will affect your view on the industry a little bit? Because some people are looking at it as, I need to knock other people down to get where I need to be. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine you're looking at it like that. You're probably looking at it from a very different perspective.
Yeah, I look at it from, if there's anything I can do to make it better, I want to be a part of it. I don't want to take away from anybody else's, I guess, area. Like if they're doing something and it's good for them. Like let them do it. Let them keep to it. Like I have nothing else to add. Why should I? You know. But if there's something I think I can add to it and make it better, then 100% I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna get into it and make it better the way I want to, you know?
No, exactly, because you want to contribute. You don't want to take away from the industry, and that's exactly what it sounds like you're doing.
Right.
Well, I wanted to thank you for coming on today, Mason. I think it was a great episode. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Joe Des.
Thank you for watching episode 17 of the Joe Des Hour. If you want to check out Mason Poirier, his Instagram will be linked in the description. Check out the Joe Des Hour Instagram. Always clips up there. Got some bathing suits dropping. Still have bathing suits for sale. If you want to order any, let me know. DM me on Instagram with your size. Thank you for watching the Joe Des Hour, episode 17, the inaugural and the final episode in the new studio.